Welcome back to the Extra Rep Podcast, guys. I'm Josh.
I'm Liam.
Look at us. We've got brand new microphones if you're listening in on YouTube, so looking very professional. But today we are going to go through, thought a bit of a Halloween theme. So we're just going to go through treats. And, I think maybe we'll start with like the psychology
I was going to say.
of, sugar and treats and like wanting that.
Yep.
And then we'll obviously lead into, our favorite sort of, generally speaking, lower calorie alternatives. But we'll go through a few ones that we sort of really enjoy as well. But we sort of want to first, like I said, get in through that, I guess, the cycle of, how these sort of things work. So I guess, Liam, what's the easiest way that you could describe that cycle of like, you want that treat, you want that dopamine hit of, whether it be chocolate ice cream or something delicious?
Pretty much, life's hard. We go through stress. It could be emotional. We use food as a emotional regulation or essentially a coping mechanism or a reward system. Let's say we've had a really tough week and we know that Friday night we just have that one pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream or your favorite snack or whatever it may be. I used to coach clients and literally they were so fatigued from work driving home, they would always pull in to the servo and they would make an excuse. They'd fill up petrol and everything, and it wasn't just to fill up petrol, it was their mind tricking them to like pull in and grab a chocolate bar or just grab something, a can of V, whatever it may be.
Yeah, it's really interesting. There was a principle that I learnt a few weeks ago when I was reading a book. I'll link it in the podcast description, but it was a principle called HALTS. So it was when you're making a decision, and generally it's going to be around food. It's like, are you one of these things? It's like, are you hungry? Are you anxious or angry? Are you what was that? Now I can't remember. HALTS, was it? Are you feeling lazy or demotivated? Are you tired or are you stressed?
Interesting.
So
That's a good acronym.
If you're any of these sort of 5 things or a combination of these 2 things, like you said, like we don't pull into the Macca's drive-through and get a triple cheeseburger meal unless we're probably stressed, hungry, and tired. Like, it's normally a combination of things. So I think, giving that little reward system when it comes to, treating yourself, that's a really good thing. Is I always get clients now. Last week I've been talking to them in the group about it, saying, okay, like think about before you're about to make a decision that, will impact your body composition positively, negatively, etc. Think, are you any of those sort of 5 things? And are you in, I guess, the right frame of mind to make potentially like a big decision on that?
Yep.
Do you want to really go out and just start binging, or are you like, okay, I'm just a bit stressed at the moment. If I just calm down, watch my favorite show, gave it an hour, would I still want to go to Macca's drive-through, or would I just be like, oh no, it's all right, I can cook something at home now? And normally I think these are urges, and they will subside all of the time.
Yeah.
So I think hydration's probably a big one you could touch on as well.
It is. It is. I mean, even with the halts and the hungry at the start, right? Like hydration and hunger do go hand in hand. Sometimes, like when you think about you really just want something, it's like have a glass of water and wait 10 to 20 minutes. And a lot of the times that hunger or that craving, that hit dissipates, which means, oh, okay, you were actually probably just dehydrated and you just needed some more water.
It's really interesting. And I was listening to the podcast by Luke Lehman. I don't know if you know who Luke is. Runs Muscle Nerds.
Nope.
So he does a lot of stuff around, like I said, the gut and, how this is all affecting this sort of stuff. And a lot of the people that, when he goes on and coaches, and obviously he helps fix up their gut and micronutrition and that. But he goes, just as a result of that, so many people who come to me with all these cravings, they all seem to just magically disappear within a few weeks because, again, it's like you're actually finally giving your body the nutrients it needs that generally it will not then go to, craving something, whether it be chocolate, fast food, or all those sort of things. So there's a lot to be said around, eating quality foods and actually getting enough, micronutrition. And that will, I find, in itself lead to generally less hunger and less cravings, unless, like I said, you're in some sort of severe deficit or something like that.
Well, that's the thing, right? If you're in a severe deficit, you're going to have hunger and cravings regardless. But the more micronutrition and nutrient-dense foods that you actually have on that intake or that limited amount of intake on that diet, it just helps stick to the plan. But there are things that can alleviate cravings, and we're going to now talk about a lot of them. My number one favorite of all time is 0-calorie specific soft drinks, just because 0 calories, yes, artificial sweeteners, panic, do whatever, cancer, aspartame. We don't need methanol. We don't need to go down that whole rabbit hole. For me, Diet Dr. Pepper or Dr. Pepper Cherry Zero, for me, it just does the job. For some other people, could be a Coke Zero. A lot of people don't realize Coke Zero still has about 100 milligrams of caffeine in it, or about 80 milligrams. So it's like, yeah, you can have one with dinner, but you're having it close to bed as well. And same goes for dark chocolate. Dark chocolate, for me, from like the health benefit standpoint, improving in like neutrophils, which is a white blood cell for your immune system, it's amazing. Like there's so many health benefits for it. There's heaps of polyphenols, antioxidants in the dark chocolate, but people also worry about things like heavy metals. Some dark chocolate contains a shit ton of sugar added to it. Some, honestly, is very, very calorically dense, and you don't realize that. It's like, yeah, you can eat some dark chocolate, but 500 calories could be gone just like that. So it's just things like that. We do know of so many, say, treats, and yeah, it's Halloween themed, so we're going to say that. But the psychology behind it is like always making the best decision and understanding the nutrient profile behind them.
Yeah, and I think that's funny that you brought up. I want to touch on the sugar-free stuff in a sec, but even something like, okay, something that you would deem as probably not great, right? Dark chocolate, okay? And the problem is then
I would deem it as great.
Yeah, but like what I'm saying is in the context of calories and overall nutrition, right?
Yeah.
Like you'll see these people, influencers will grab this theme of like dark chocolate is good for you or one glass of wine a night is good for you, and they will run with it to the hills to the point where it becomes their own personal bias of like, I have to have dark chocolate every single day. Like if I don't, I won't get these nutrients. And there's so many foods that contain all these different things. So yes, of course, having a couple of squares of dark chocolate is great. But if you're someone who knows you'll have the block, then don't fucking get the dark chocolate, or make sure you get it in, the smaller packets or something like that. But back to the sugar-free stuff, I was actually going to ask you, a lot of people, again, with sugar-free stuff and their gut will generally have really different reactions. So for me, for example, like, the sugar-free, like maple syrup, like no issue, no dramas. I can drizzle whatever with that. Whereas I'll have like a zero sugar Slurpee from 7-Eleven, fucks my guts up like horribly. So I think for everyone, it's important to know that there are going to be some, like artificial sweeteners and sorbitol and things like that, that will affect some people more than others. So I think it's important to understand that not every sugar-free thing is going to be fantastic for you, and you've actually got to understand the digestion side of things. Does it make you feel like shit, or can you tolerate it?
Yeah, I remember one time 2 years ago, I had these, like, I was dieting hard, and it is when I was doing your 8-week shred back in 2023, and I had these, like, zero sugar, they were like 50 calories for the whole thing. It was just carbohydrates, and it was like naturally sweetened, these raspberry red frogs. And I was like, sweet, I've got a spare 100 calories, I can eat them. And I ate them, and I remember literally having like a sharp pain in my stomach just from them. Nothing else in the diet had changed, and I've never eaten them again, and I've never had that pain again. But whatever, I don't know if it was the acid or something breaking something down, fucked with me.
Yeah, it's just so interesting that you'll get people who think, like I said, again, I can just put sugar-free on top of everything, but they're, barely shitting. They're, always constipated. They're on the toilet every morning. Like, all this sort of stuff, like they're just having digestive issues. So it is one thing where it's like, yes, you want to assess, see how it works, start with a small amount, build yourself up. Like you'll know when you have too much. For example, me, lactose like intolerant to a certain amount. So it's like, I know I can, like yogurt, absolutely no problem. But if I combine yogurt and cheese, and it's like, again, some cheeses are fine. And I know I'll just reach a point where it's like, if I have another 5 grams of cheese, I'll go from completely fine to, again, gut is just absolutely cooked. So again, another thing to sort of mention with people, it's like if you have lactase problems or any of that, or back to gluten, like all these little things that make up your microbiome and make up potentially treats where they're just adding this sort of stuff in. It's just important to understand, does it fuck up your gut, or can you handle it? And I think that's where I'd go towards, something might be delicious, but if it keeps stuffing up your gut, I'd just get rid of it for a longer period of time for sure.
Exactly. And look, some people even make the trade-off. Some people, like, think about something like KFC with the worst reward to feeling ratio, or whatever the term was. It's like some people will go through that daily treat because it makes them feel so good in the moment, even though the glass of wine, they know it messes with their sleep. But they'll think it's the life stresses from work or whatever that's messing with their sleep, not the glass of wine that they had to, quote unquote, calm down and settle down in the night routine. But speaking of like ingredients added and stuff, it's also worth mentioning with these, quote unquote, treats, that something that says no sugar added doesn't mean there's no sugar. I think that's a really big marketing gimmick. It's similar to how like a dessert can say, 10 grams of protein or whatever, but it's still an ice cream. You know what I mean? There's still things in there that are going to fuck with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the Halo tops, for example, for me, like normal Halo tops or like, some of the Lenny's and a few of those, like, again, cooked me. But then when I had like the plant-based Halo top, absolutely no problem. So, everyone's going to be different. And that's why, you need to try things and assess things. And you'll know, like I said, when you feel crap the next day, all you need to do is look the night before and be like, what did I have as a little treat for dessert, or did I change something? And you'll be able to pick things up, obviously, pretty quickly, provided, your diet's pretty good to begin with. If your diet's full of that stuff all the time, then of course that's when you need to have a bit of a, nutritional intervention and put these things as sometimes things, or, once at the end of the day, once 90% of your nutrition, is taken care of with good unprocessed foods, meat, fish, vegetables, grains, etc.
I've got nothing really to add on that. That was summed up perfectly. But yeah, we just wanted to do a quick podcast on certain treats and the ones that we listed. Like, mine is like, the 0-calorie soft drinks and dark chocolate. I think they're amazing. There are now No Shoe, the brand. I've raved about them so many times. Like, there's no sugar banana bread now. Has fiber in it. I have it as a pre-workout meal. Absolutely amazing. They got No Shoe brownies. They got No Shoe carrot cake as well, which in my opinion doesn't taste as nice. But then dessert ice creams, protein ice creams, whatever it may be. There are so many alternatives to quote unquote treats than having just a Kit Kat. You can have always a better version of something. You can always make a healthier choice. And especially like Halloween, cool. Kids walking around, they're going to eat shit, whatever. You could be the person that gives them just a healthier alternative and they won't even be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. I had those those like little they call like something fruits or something. Like I wanted the for $1, like at the Coles, when you're doing the self-serve. What are they called? Like there's like 50 calories in a packet. They're basically like gummy bears.
Gotcha.
But they're like 50 calories in a packet. And I was like, it's enough to like satisfy you as well. Like it's probably like 15 of them in there.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, it actually feels like I'm having, some lollies.
Yep.
But without exactly right, like all natural ingredients, like didn't feel like my gut was cooked afterwards. Like, so I find those are really, really good.
Yep.
Even just something like a paddle pop, I find quite good as well. Again, if you're lactose intolerant, one thing to just be, a little bit concerned about. But everything now is being marketed as, a high protein dessert. So I think it is one thing to think like, okay, if that's going to be, say if an ice cream is going to be 10% of your overall daily calories, right? As long as you're getting protein in the other 90%, it's like you don't need to have protein in your ice cream.
Yep.
You can just have the normal ice cream. It's going to be fine. So I think that is something where, like I said, it's become a bit of a gimmick where everyone's just adding protein into everything.
Yep.
And we've got to understand that if something's, they've added protein or it's extra protein, it's also extra calories at the end of the day. So of course it is a great way to get, potentially some extra 20, 30 grams of protein throughout the day. But at the same time, that's going to get you another 200-300 calories. So if that's the only swap you're making, you're probably just adding calories, for the sake of adding protein. So you do generally need to add protein, but also take away some calories from carbs and fats to balance that, ratio out, because we know we want a good amount of protein, and generally speaking, provided the gut can handle it, a higher carb amount and a lower fat amount if we're strength resistance training and trying to do all the right things there, unless of course we're metabolically inflexible or unhealthy.
You mean insulin resistant?
Yeah. So that could be another podcast in itself, I reckon.
But in terms of like most of these treat foods and those macronutrients that Josh just listed, a lot of them are going to be the deadly combination of the very, how would I say, what's the word where it's like something satisfies that craving or is like really dangerous around a craving?
Just dangerous.
Yeah, it's just dangerous. But there's a specific word I'm thinking of, but it's the combination of carbs and fats.
Yeah.
That combination can be a recipe for disaster.
Highly unsatiating.
Yeah.
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Highly palatable.
Palatable. That's the one.
Palatable.
Yeah, highly palatable. It could be a recipe for disaster for most people. The No Shoe banana bread I listed, it is just carbs and fats and fiber. It's 155 calories per slice. I could eat all 4 slices. They're small slices, right? But I have to restrain myself because I know the calorie content of each one. If you want, say, a skinny cow sundae, which are these tiny little sundaes, there's like chocolate, caramel, all that stuff. They're only 110 calories. But some people, even we talk about the psychological effect of these treats, and especially what you mentioned around the dark chocolate and eating the whole block, some people just can't leave half the tub there and put it back. Some people need to finish the whole thing. So as you mentioned with buying the smaller packets, the benefits of a Halo top was like you can eat the whole tub at 300 calories and you don't need to feel guilty. Whereas if you ate a whole 1,000 calorie tub of Ben and Jerry's, you'd feel super guilty.
Yeah.
Whereas you get a skinny cow sundae, you eat 2 tubs, and you're like, okay, there's that psychology that you've finished the tub and you've put it away, you've emptied it in the bin, you're not going back for more.
I think that's it. It's that damage control
Yep.
of like, even if you feel like you're going off the rails, it's like, I've had a paddle pop and I'm going back for a second one. And it's like, what's the damage? Like 180 calories for 2 of them, as opposed to I've had a whole tub of Ben and Jerry. So
Yep.
I think, it's almost just putting those small little barriers in, and then you'll be good to go. But sorry, Liam's got a call. We were finishing up this anyway, so I hope you guys have enjoyed the podcast. Again, if you have any treats you want us to have a look at, anything you're not sure about, let us know. We'll be able to rate them for you. We'll do it on the Extra Rep Podcast Instagram, so make sure you're following me at Action Fitness Nutrition or Liam at Coach Liam C. Murphy. But until next time, guys, we'll see you in the next podcast.